Ya vienen los touchdowns. ¿Estás listo? Esta temporada de la NFL convierte las jugadas grandes en premios con DraftKings Sportsbook, un socio oficial de apuestas deportivas de la NFL. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para recibir $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando hagas tu primera apuesta de $5. En colaboración con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Las apuestas de bono son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.
Please don't hire us for your defense team.
Eavesdroppin.
Oh dear, it's Michelle. You all right, mate?
Oh, I'm sick. I'm always bloody sick.
It's a hangover. Be real.
It's a combo. It's a combo of 2 weddings, multiple hangovers, a lot of cocktails, and now a cold.
Yes.
It sucks.
It is the wedding season for us, isn't it?
I know.
And really, it should be more like the other thing, the funeral time.
Oh, don't say that.
Well, we're no spring chickens.
Well, we're not that old. Jesus Christ. If I had to choose, obviously, I'm going to choose a wedding.
Every time.
Over a funeral. But of course, that does bring me to Jen's famous line.
Jen the hen, your mother, let's just point out for those who don't know.
Yes, Jen the hen, my mother, she'd gone to a funeral and I'd said, Mum, you know, how was it? Was it okay? And she was like, oh, well, it was all right. There were no laughs. And
What?
it was a funeral, Mum. And she's like, well, you know, I was expecting a few laughs.
Like a roast for the dearly departed.
I don't know, but Jen, if you're listening, do get in touch.
Let us know what you expect from a funeral. Have you planned yours? Are you ready? Did you want some jokes sewn into it, or is it just all about how great you are? What's your eulogy like, Jen? Let us know. Write in. Anyone else written their eulogy? Do write in.
Now, 2 things before I move.
Introductions?
Yes. Who the hell are you? Who am I?
Well, who the hell are you? I know who I am. I'm Geordie. I'm that tall one. I'm quite loud.
I'm Michelle. I am quiet and meek as a mouse. I'm teeny.
She doesn't have opinions.
No.
Do you remember that time you said, I don't think I'm very opinionated?
Well, I actually don't. I don't think I'm very opinionated, but
Okay.
yeah. You see, you make me feel like I've missed a trick somewhere. Yes, we are the Eavesdroppin duo. And you're an eavesdropper because you're listening in.
You are.
And actually, I do have a shout out.
Oh, I love a shout out. Come on then. Who is it this time?
Secret eavesdropper, Lindsay Sadler.
Lindsay Sadler. Welcome, Lindsay.
Well, it's hardly a welcome. She's been listening from the start. And we caught up when I was in London and she said, I know I haven't seen you for ages, but I feel like I know everything that's going on because I listened to the podcast.
Oh.
I don't need to see my friends. They know about my life.
Just shout into the ether and then somebody hopefully will hear you. I am actually going to be meeting one of our eavesdroppers this month, the month of September. Oh my God, it's September. We need to do a Patreon drop.
Has anyone got any agony aunts? Because I've got one.
Oh, it's our agony aunt season.
That was my other thing I was going to bring up.
Guys, write in.
Yes.
We need you to write in your am I being unreasonables, or your what should I do, or what is socially acceptable, etc., etc. I've just started watching another appalling reality TV show. It's Real Housewives of London.
No.
Oh, they're hideous.
Oh, I bet. And completely
First episode, they're laying into each other.
compulsive viewing, I imagine.
Yeah.
Well, I've received a Dear Agony Aunt. You know, they want help. They want help from us.
Okay. Well, we need a few more and then we can do that episode. So you patrons might have to hang on a little while longer before we can get round to recording the episode. It won't be long. This is the first week of September. Give us a moment.
Yes.
Whoa there, Nelly, as Michelle likes to say.
Hold your horses there, Nelly. Whoa there, Nelly.
That's it.
Yes, but it is coming, and obviously it's going to be worth it because we're helping. We're helping.
We're helping you.
Yes.
So you need to help us by writing in with your actual problems.
And your dilemmas and your
Yeah.
what should I do moments. What should I do? So do write in. You can reach us on all the socials. You can also give us a like and a review. And you can email us at hello@eavesdroppinpodcast.com.
Great. Listen, Michelle, it's another day, another episode, another week, another episode from us. We did a couple of summer specials mashed up.
We did.
That was fun because we didn't remember those conversations that we'd had before, did we?
No.
It was a surprise to you and me and the listeners.
It was. And it's funny. I was listening back thinking, that doesn't even sound like me. It was definitely me, and I really didn't remember those stories very well. I mean, I knew the broad strokes, but,
Yeah.
I was intrigued.
Oh.
Well done to us.
We're not doing another mashup, you'll be pleased to know. It's all fresh content, fresh as a daisy.
Yes.
This week, it's Wrongly Accused. But before we get into today's main event, Michelle, did you have any more shout-outs or listener recommendations or anything to tell?
No, but I'm not sure if I had spoken about The Veil.
The Veil, the TV show? Somebody has.
Yes, could have been me. I just don't remember. But that's the last thing I watched because last week I was awfully busy. But that was a good one, The Veil.
Oh,
It's got that nice lady from Handmaid's Tale.
the nice lady.
Elizabeth Moss. That's her.
She was in Us that I watched, and we talked about this before. We've talked about this. Been there, done that.
I'm a bit confused.
Of course. Well, we can't always remember what we talk about, so apologies if you've heard this before, and if you haven't, here's a little reminder. But before we get into today's main event, I found an astonishing story that I just wanted to tell you, Michelle, that popped up from a news internet thing, and it was an Australian story from 2008, and it was based in the tragically Ranges in Gippsland. I don't know that area of Australia. Do you?
I've never even heard of that.
Wow.
Is it real? Strzelecki?
The tragically Ranges in Gippsland. Where is Gippsland? Is that Victoria?
I don't know. Should I do a Google?
Google Earth. Whilst you're Googling, I will tell you, it was a strange, disturbing case, and it shocked Australia all the way back in 2008. It was focused on 25-year-old Julian Buchwald and his 17-year-old girlfriend Carolyn Watson, who suddenly vanished from his parents' farm. So Gippsland, it sounds like it might be quite farmy.
Well, it says here it's a large rural region located in the southeastern part of Victoria in Australia, stretching from the outer suburbs of Melbourne all the way to the New South Wales border.
Wow, that's a big
Fucking
space.
huge.
Yet
It's
you
got
hadn't heard of
coastal
it.
plains. It's got white sandy beaches.
Oh.
It's got the Victorian Alps. And Wilson's Promontory is
I've heard of that.
Yes, so it's big.
That sounds nice.
It does sound lovely.
Carolyn told police she'd been dragged into a car by a man in a balaclava, tied up, her clothes cut away and abandoned in the bush. And Julian then appeared and he claimed he too had been kidnapped. For over a week, this pair camped in the remote wilderness, surviving in tough conditions. God knows what it was like where they were, because it sounds like all sorts of everything. You've just described the snowy ranges and the coastal plains.
Yep.
I love her jeweled horizons. I love her whatever.
Her beauty and her terror.
This
The
wide brown
land for me.
That's I Love a Sunburnt Country by Dorothea McKellar.
We all grew up knowing that. We're having to recite
That's
it.
right.
It's beautiful, actually. I feel a bit emotional.
Oh, God, sorry. Michelle's getting patriotic. But once the pair were found, Julian's version of events was that they had been taken by a satanic cult.
What?
But police began to unravel a different version, Michelle, where it was Julian himself that had staged the entire ordeal in order to get closer, read, manipulate and control his girlfriend.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Sorry. What a sick prick.
I know, it's awful, isn't it? Well, listen,
Fuck
Julian
me.
was actually convicted of kidnapping, but he fled before sentencing. And how he did that was he disguised himself as an Indian man with dyed hair, and he darkened his eyebrows and got himself a fake passport. Yeah, he made it as far as Singapore before being caught and returned to Australia.
Oh, my God.
What a story.
That is wild.
I know. But he was then sentenced to more than 7 years in prison. And now he says that was too much. It was too excessive. And somehow the trial was skewed. But that's enough from you, Julian. We know that you can't tell the truth lying. You can't shoot an arrow straight lying down. What's that expression?
I actually don't know which expression you're trying to say. You can't lie straight in bed, mate.
That's it.
And that's another one.
Where did the arrow come from?
I don't know.
Couldn't lie straight in bed.
But this guy, I mean, I'm sure every crim on the block is saying, oh, it's a bit much. You gave me a few too many years, mate.
Yeah, that's too much. That's too harsh.
Fucking hell. No, but I mean, he terrified this poor woman.
Yeah.
Manipulated her, left her for kind of dead, and then came out like the hero.
Yes,
like
but
I said,
he wasn't.
sick prick.
And they found out. Then he got dressed up like an Indian man.
What a dick.
And fled. I know.
Sick dick prick.
Sick dick prick.
SGP.
Wow.
Anyway.
Douche or dude? That's a new thing.
Oh.
Yeah, we did this at the weekend. You weren't there anymore. Michelle has just been with me. We have a new category, and that is he a douche or is he a dude? And I would say on this count,
douche.
Julian Bushwald, douche or dude? He's a douche.
Douche, mate.
Yeah.
Douche. Not even any question about that. No, but then actually we had eavesdropper Jannica from Amsterdam. I mean, she was cheating on us. She's been listening to another podcast called Evil or Genius. A little bit like douche or dude.
Yes, well, she's the one that came up with douche or dude, I'll be honest with you.
Oh, right.
Oh, it's her brainchild.
She's plagiarized Evil or Genius in some ways. But she was telling me about this fabulous podcast where they look at genius figures from history, from music, from artists and whatever, and they look at their work and they're like, yeah, this guy's clearly a genius.
But he was married to an 11-year-old.
Yes. So.
That kind of thing.
He's a fucking pedo.
Yeah.
Evil or genius?
Right.
I think mostly it comes up as evil, but yeah.
Yeah, we did a bit of dude or douche like that, actually.
Because how do you separate the person from the work? Can you? And I think people do. They're like, actually, you know, his artwork is absolutely groundbreaking and emotional and whatever, but he was a complete
narcissistic
child molester.
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line and say, okay.
But what came first, Michelle? The fame, the glory, or the doucheness?
That is a very good question, because I wonder if they had latent doucheness.
Like all humans, maybe.
But then when they were given a little bit of fame, a little bit of cachet, they were like, great, I'll do whatever the fuck I want. You know, what do they say? Money breeds corruption, or power breeds corruption?
Yes, I would say that. One other thing that I'd like to say that we did this weekend after you left, Michelle, is the day you left. We all got together on AI, and you apparently can ask AI what celebrity you look like.
Oh, no.
Guess who mine is?
Who?
All older ladies, much older.
Oh shit. When you say AI, is it ChatGPT?
AI. Yes,
AI?
It was ChatGPT.
Can you upload a photo to ChatGPT?
Yes. And you can go in extras and it says, what celebrity do I look like?
Oh,
and we all did it. And I look like a choice of 3. Helen Mirren, who's 80. Joanna Lumley, who's pushing
also 80.
Yeah.
Something.
Also very beautiful, though. And I have been told I look like her before, back in the day when I used to wear suits and lipstick and heels. And the one that it wouldn't let go was Kim Cattrall. And I think AI just thinks I am Kim Cattrall.
Well, when I did the AI on us, of us being slutty bitches on a private jet, it made you look like Kim Cattrall.
I know.
Did. So there is something in the AI algorithm.
It really wants me to be Kim Cattrall. Luckily, not Courtney Love crossed with Jo Wiley, which is what I usually get.
Oh.
But now I'm in my autumn years. I suppose it's got to be all those old ladies.
Thing is, I think if Courtney Love still looked like Courtney Love, then you probably would still get that. I'm pro Courtney. Like, I'm not dissing her here. You know, she's obviously done all the work and she's got
the cash. She's put it in her
cash. She's done the work. Unfortunately, maybe didn't choose the surgeons who were all about the subtle effect, and she doesn't look like herself anymore. I think Kim Cattrall's not a bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I guess.
I will have to do it now, but I'm slightly terrified.
You'll have to do it. I'm looking forward to finding out which old lady you look like.
Thank you, because I always get Trudy Styler, and she's an old bitch.
Oh, don't. Now, where were we?
Well, we've got to start this bloody episode.
I think you better get stuck in.
I've got some stuff to tell you, and you were just in Australia, and I'm taking you to Australia today.
Okay.
For a case that is so heartbreaking on so many levels that I don't even know how this woman survived, because you had said we are talking about miscarriages of justice and, wrongfully accused. Well, here's the thing. This woman's name is Kathleen Folbigg. And if you skimmed the headlines back in the early 2000s in Australia, you would have thought that this woman was the worst kind of monster, because she was dubbed Australia's worst female serial killer.
Oh, my God.
They said this woman was a baby killer.
Oh.
And she didn't just kill one. They said she basically killed her 4 kids.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But if you start this story at the very beginning, it's actually way messier and sadder and more bizarre than even those headlines. So Kathleen Folbigg was born Kathleen Britton in 1967 in Sydney. And before she was even 2, her entire life was ripped apart because her father murdered her mother.
Oh, my God.
By stabbing her 24 times.
Oh, gosh.
So the mother is dead. The mother is dead. The mother is dead. The dad is in prison.
Yeah.
Kathleen ends up in foster care. She's 2. And she is just shunted through various homes where, she never really felt settled, apparently.
Yeah.
And later, when judges and juries were trying to psychoanalyze her diaries, because her diaries played a big part in her case, they loved to drag up the fact that her father killed her mother. And they would say things like, her dad was a murderer. Maybe it runs in the family.
Right. Yes, I imagined that would be the case.
Yes.
She didn't really stand a chance.
No. We're going to fast forward to the 80s.
Yeah.
Kathleen meets a guy called Craig Folbigg. They get married in 1987. They do the whole great Australian dream of buying a house. He goes out to work. She stays at home to be a full-time mum. That's what they wanted. And their first baby, Caleb, was born in February 1989. So Kathleen is over the moon, and Craig is as well. Except Caleb has a condition called laryngomalacia. Laryngomalacia. I should have maybe tried to say these words before I
think you did well.
Anyway, what it essentially is a floppy larynx that makes it really hard for babies to breathe.
Oh.
And apparently it's not even that uncommon. Most kids grow out of it, but at 19 days old, Caleb was found dead.
Oh.
Doctors said it was SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. And of course, Kathleen and Craig were devastated. So Kathleen turned to her diary to try and make sense of, her grief. And she writes things like she feels like she's failed as a mother.
Yeah.
And things like that come back to haunt this poor woman. Very quickly, Kathleen and Craig try for another baby. And their second child, Patrick, was born in 1990. And right from the start, this baby had health issues. Beginning with things like seizures, then cortical blindness. And then doctors discovered that this baby had a neurological disorder. Then, at 4 months old, Kathleen finds him struggling to breathe. At this point, he does survive, but he has permanent brain damage. He goes on for another 4 months.
Oh, gosh.
And then at 8 months in, Patrick has another seizure, but this time he doesn't make it.
Oh.
And the cause of death was recorded as epilepsy complications. And at this stage, it seems like this fucking poor grieving couple cannot catch a break because, they're heartbroken all over again. But the pair really want a family. And in 1992, their third baby, Sarah, was born. She seemed to be perfectly healthy and happy at first. But at 10 months old, she gets a respiratory infection and she's found dead in her cot.
Oh, God.
Now, an autopsy was performed and the results said that her lungs were inflamed, but doctors were not really able to pinpoint exactly what she died of. So they chalked her death up to SIDS again. But this is when sympathy for this couple starts to turn to suspicion because what people are starting to see is this horrific pattern.
Exactly.
Yes, that they don't really kind of know what to do with because you've got 3 kids.
And you've got to.
3 unexplained deaths, same mum.
Of course, you must look at it though.
But even her husband, Craig, is starting to get a little suspicious of Kathleen. And he doesn't really say it at the time, but it comes out later. But Kathleen and Craig, they try again, and their 4th baby, Laura, was born in 1997. And she lives the longest, 18 months. By all accounts, Laura was this lovely, happy little toddler. And then she gets a chest infection and she develops myocarditis, which is basically heart inflammation.
Oh.
And she dies suddenly.
This is devastating.
Really, 4 children. And the coroner notes the infection and the heart issue. But again, there is no solid cause of this death beyond natural causes. So obviously for the couple, this is basically a horrific Groundhog Day on repeat. All 4 children gone before their 2nd birthday.
Awful.
I mean, it's the kind of shit that would break anyone.
That's a lot.
But here's the thing. Instead of people kind of wrapping Kathleen up in this warm, lovely blanket of support, she becomes the main suspect in this whole tragedy. And everything she has ever said or done or written in her diary gets picked apart a la Shades of Lindy Chamberlain. Now, for anyone who doesn't know who Lindy Chamberlain is, she was the mother of Azaria Chamberlain, famously known for that line, "Dingo stole my baby." She went to prison for supposedly killing her child. They did not believe that a dingo took her baby.
Yeah.
But she was pardoned and it was proven that...
After how many years in prison?
Decades, I believe.
Yeah.
Decades. So this was going the same way as Lindy. Kathleen, she's not a big emotional kind of crier. So she's not crying enough. Right. She's too withdrawn. It's all being judged by the media. Yeah. And then the smoking gun that kind of convinces people she killed her babies is her diaries. Because Kathleen was a journaler. She had loads of these tiny little notebooks and she was venting in these notebooks. She was venting about being tired and feeling like a bad mum, about losing her temper with her kids, about blaming herself. Normal stuff that many a stressed parent, I'm sure, might scribble down in a notebook at 2 a.m. when they're fucking exhausted and feeling on the edge. And maybe she even had undiagnosed postnatal depression. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, there were a couple of lines that were used in court. One was, "I feel like a terrible mother, like I have failed them." Lines like this, in the hands of the police and prosecutors, suddenly become an admission of murder. I don't know how, because to me that line is basically, I feel like a bad mum. You know, I failed them because they're dying. What am I doing wrong?
Of course.
But that was part of this whole thing that sent her to prison. And the worst part, in my opinion, is it was Craig who found these diaries in 1999 and he read them, where he read passages where Kathleen had talked about Sarah being demanding or how Laura had been a challenge. And to be fair to him, I guess he was grieving too.
Yeah. And looking for someone to blame.
Yes.
You know?
But to me, these feel like normal struggles that new mothers face. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
You know, suddenly these things she's writing in his eyes make her seem like maybe she's a baby killer. So he takes these diaries to the police. And that is when Kathleen's fate was sealed. Because once the investigators had those pages, they were like, these aren't diaries. These are confessions written in code. And they were saying things like, every time she'd written, "I feel responsible," they said, she's saying, "I did it." Every time she'd written something like, "I lost control," they had said to the jury, she's basically saying, "I killed them."
Yeah.
So in 2001, Kathleen gets arrested. She's charged with murdering 3 of her children and charged with the manslaughter of Caleb. Remember, there is no physical evidence here, Geordie.
Yep.
None. No eyewitnesses. She hasn't strangled them. She hasn't done anything. These kids have died of so-called natural causes. It's just that 4 kids have died in one family and their mum wrote sad, guilty-sounding things in a diary.
Yeah.
And that, in conjunction with this fucked up thing called Meadow's Law, which is basically this dodgy medical mantra from a now disgraced British paediatrician. He said, 1 unexplained infant death in a family is a tragedy. 2 is suspicious. 3 is murder until proven otherwise. Problem is with that, it's junk science. It has absolutely no statistical basis. And his ideas about these deaths were taken out of context from a report that absolutely does not give this idea any credence or scientific backing. But in 2003, this crappy fake science was used to put innocent mothers, and I'm saying mothers because his junk science put more than one grieving mother behind bars, including Kathleen Folbigg.
Wow.
She goes on trial and the media just jump on her like a pack of starving dogs. She is painted as this cold, detached woman with murder in her DNA because of her father.
Yeah.
Tabloids call her Australia's worst mum, Australia's worst serial killer, and Talkback Radio, which was really big at that time in Australia, they have a field day with this. Her diaries are read out in court. They're basically said they're confessions, and somehow Talkback Radio get hold of these as well. Yeah. So it's everywhere. There's one line, which it is a bit weird, but she says, Sarah left, which was the 3rd child. Sarah left with a bit of help.
Oh.
This was really the line that put her behind bars.
Well, actually, that does sound quite
weird.
I gotta say.
Sarah left with a bit of help. I don't know what the fuck that means. And I too, if I was sitting in that jury, I'd be like, oh, I don't know how to.
That would be a problem.
To kind of psychoanalyze that away.
Yeah.
But that was the worst line in her diary. The rest of it was all circumstantial with no evidence. But obviously by the end of the trial, the jury convicts her. So she's guilty of killing Patrick, Sarah and Laura and manslaughter for Caleb. And she is sentenced to 40 years, reduced to 30 on appeal. And with that, she's gone from grieving mother to convicted baby killer with no evidence, no DNA, just diaries and a vibe that she's a killer. After this guilty verdict, she is Australia's most hated woman. The way the press ran with this was absolutely brutal because, you know, she was like all over the front page of the newspapers with evil and monster written.
Oh, wow.
You had these talkback callers saying, you know, she should rot in jail.
A lot of people had a lot of opinions about her, I'm sure.
They didn't want to hear about SIDS. They didn't want to hear about the epilepsy. They didn't want to hear about the infections. They just wanted to believe that this woman was a baby killer. And because Kathleen was not the kind of sobbing, performative type, that's proof she's uncaring.
Well, like Lindy Chamberlain and like Foxy Noxie.
Oh, yes. Amanda Knox. Yes.
You know, if you don't show what the people want to see, then they will fill in the gap.
Yes. And even during sentencing, the judge apparently had said she had shown no genuine remorse, which I don't even know how you fucking prove something like that because this woman's personality is on trial.
Well, she's not showing remorse because she hasn't done it.
Well, exactly. And Kathleen later said, I grieve in private. That's just how I am. But try saying that to a jury that already decided you're a killer.
Yeah.
So she's locked away. First in a place called Malawa and then in Silverwater. Then she's in Grafton Correctional Centre up north. And she's always put in isolated cells because...
Oh, because people are going to kill her.
Yeah, because...
Women in a women's prison, they don't want anyone in there who's hurt a baby, they'll be fucked.
Oh, they're the lowest of the low in jail.
Yes.
It's like pedophiles in men's jails are, what do they call them? Rock spiders. And they just fucking bashed.
Nonsense, yeah.
She is also abused and spat on and beaten up. 20
Bloody
years.
hell, 20 years.
20 years. Once she's behind bars, Craig divorces her, of course. He testified against her at the trial.
Oh, wow.
And he gave interviews saying he believed that she killed their kids. And of course, like the public are like, if the father's believing it, why wouldn't the rest of us?
Yeah.
Except there are a few people who do not buy this. A few friends stay loyal. And a couple of lawyers look at the transcripts and are like, hang on, where's the actual evidence here? Then you've got academics like a woman called Emma Cunliffe, who is a Canadian legal scholar who digs into this case. And she's like, this conviction is dodgy. And in 2011, she published a book called Murder, Medicine and Motherhood, arguing that the prosecution leaned on Meadow's law and this whole junk science. And the jury were completely prejudiced because women are supposed to act a little bit like you were saying, a certain way when the kids die. And her diaries didn't reveal that, apparently. So by the mid-2010s, there were a few medical experts who are kind of whispering about, fuck, this doesn't add up. Doctors re-examine the files and they point out that Patrick's epilepsy was severe enough to explain his death. Sarah had signs of infection and Laura's myocarditis was well documented. So all 4 of these deaths had plausible natural causes, but the courts were not listening. And the New South Wales Court of Appeal rejected her appeals and attempts at freedom, basically said to her, the jury heard it all, we're not overturning it. Mm-hmm. So the years drag on. And the whole time she's maintained her innocence. Then, in 2015, the science around genetics and sudden death starts accelerating. And researchers all around the world are finding that mutations in certain genes can trigger heart arrhythmias or epileptic seizures that look, to anyone who doesn't know, like SIDS. These cases are rare, but they are real. And this is where a woman called Professor Carola Vinuesa comes in. And she's an immunologist and geneticist at the ANU in Canberra at the Australian National University, where I went. And she first hears about Kathleen Folbigg's case in 2018. And to her, she's like, I don't think this sounds like murder. This sounds like a medical mystery. So she convinces her colleagues to sequence Kathleen's genome. And what they find, Geordie, it's a fucking juice dropper.
What do you mean?
There is a mutation in her CALM2 gene, which controls calcium in heart cells. And this is a big deal because CALM2 mutations have been linked to sudden cardiac death in infants. And when they test the blood of the Folbigg daughters, Sarah and Laura, they both had it. They had this gene mutation, which means the girls may have died from lethal heart arrhythmias triggered by this exact mutation. As for the boys, Caleb and Patrick, they find a different mutation in another gene, BSN, which is linked to severe epilepsy. And suddenly, all of these medical files make sense in a way that the murder theory never did.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
How was it that they found that information only in 2015? Is it because you said the science had skipped ahead? Or could they have found these things out had they been looking for them earlier? What I'm trying to say is, do you think that the trial was skewed so much and public opinion was skewed so much that they just didn't want to disprove?
So back in the early 90s, when this was all happening, genetic science around genome sequencing and testing didn't exist.
Oh, I see. So it just wasn't even possible to test these things if they wanted to.
No, and the whole science around genetics was so expensive that even if in the future, in the following years, when the science around genetic testing suddenly became front page news about genome sequencing,
Yeah.
they're not going to spend, at that point, hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to prove some woman innocent.
Yeah.
But in 2015, suddenly genetic sequencing and genome sequencing like 23andMe and all this stuff, it's cheap. You can do it for $100.
Yep.
And so the thing is, the courts were not into it at all.
They didn't want to hear that evidence.
No, they did
for
not.
the appeal. Right.
No, they did not, because they said the jury heard it all. We're not overturning.
We're done.
So it really took the science community to get behind this. And they did. But the thing is, even though the science is saying Patrick's seizures, Caleb's breathing problems, Sarah's infection and Laura's myocarditis, they were sick. They weren't smothered. It's shiny new evidence, but the law did not give a shit.
Oh, wow.
Even though the science is proving this. And in 2019, a formal judicial inquiry under pressure from scientists looked at the case again. And the retired judge heading it was a guy called Reginald Blanche. And he said, these genetics, they don't cut it. Not interested. He's like,
Right.
I don't care. This is 2019. He said, I don't care what the genetics show. She did it. And she ruled that Kathleen is still guilty.
Okay.
So the logic behind that was the science is interesting, but it's not conclusive, even though there's no other evidence at all.
Right.
So Kathleen stays in prison.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, she's done 16 years.
Oh.
But it's 20 years by the time things finally start to crack open in this case. And it's only because the international science community got involved.
Right.
Because Carola Vinuesa, she's a fucking hero. Her team published their findings, and suddenly you've got cardiologists, geneticists from Europe, the US, even Nobel Prize winners saying these deaths are not murder. These deaths are genetics. And they all signed a petition to the New South Wales governor in 2021 urging for a pardon for Kathleen. Basically, 90 of the world's top scientists wrote to the New South Wales law courts and said, you've jailed an innocent woman because you don't understand genetics.
That's crazy, in fact.
It is.
That it took all that.
I know. But then this is when the media tide finally started to turn, because then headlines started saying, is Kathleen Folbigg innocent?
Okay.
The same papers that called her a baby killer started running these stories.
It's a bit embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, about a miscarriage of justice. And for the first time in 20 years, the idea that she might not have murdered her kids, it's suddenly a very real possibility. By the time the world's top scientists are putting their names on this petition saying, you've got this wrong,
Thought this out.
Kathleen's 20 years in prison in the slammer.
Yeah.
And she's been branded a baby killer, isolated, being thought of as the absolute lowest of the low.
Yes.
So in 2022, the New South Wales Attorney General finally agrees to a second inquiry. And this one is led by a retired Chief Justice called Tom Bathurst. And it's a whole different ballgame, because the genetic research now isn't just, oh, maybe this explains it. It's, we have peer-reviewed evidence. It's been replicated in multiple labs around the world. These mutations can and do kill babies.
Right.
The judge listens. And unlike the first inquiry, he does not dismiss this evidence. And by mid-2023, he's telling the government that reasonable doubt exists. And once that phrase is used in court, the whole case collapses.
Wow.
And on June the 5th, 2023, Kathleen walks out of prison.
Oh.
And she is granted a pardon. She's basically a free woman.
Yeah.
For something she did not do.
And what happens to her now?
Well, she's a woman in her mid-50s. Her best friend campaigned tirelessly for 20 years for her. So she goes out of prison, lives with her best friend for a while so she can try and get her life together.
Yeah.
And she said, you need to give me some compensation.
Yeah.
And her lawyers said she was owed the biggest payout in Australian history for what the courts did to her. And they were going for like 10 plus million.
Oh, wow.
On August 7 this year, so not even a month ago, she gets given $2 million and told to fuck off, basically.
Oh, God.
They said, well, that's enough. That's what you're going to get.
God, for 20 years of false imprisonment.
And also what this woman emotionally went through.
Yes.
So the system failed her again.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So basically, they're fighting for more money, and I hope they get it because this poor woman has been through hell. And there are other women, Geordie, going through the same hell. In particular, a woman in Greece called Rula Pispirigou, who was sentenced to life in prison for murdering her 9-year-old daughter.
Oh, my God.
And this woman, Carola Vinuesa, is getting involved in her case as well. So I hope she gets some justice. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
It's not just mothers of babies killed that are coming into question, but we did a story not long ago. You covered it. Lucy Letby. You know that they're putting into question that her conviction now.
Yes, and I don't understand why.
Well, they had like a panel of 14 international medical experts who working as part of her new defence team, who have actually reviewed the case and concluded that all of those babies' deaths could be explained away by natural causes or poor medical care rather than intentional harm.
Okay, my query here is poor medical care.
Yeah, but not intentional harm and not poor medical care by one person.
Right.
Necessarily. I don't know, but it sounds like there will be more going on there. There'll be more trials. Lucy Letby's definitely not finished. Her defence team are not finished trying to prove her innocence.
That's really interesting because if they look to Kathleen Folbigg's case and they decide to do genetic testing on every single baby that is involved in the Lucy Letby case, I wonder what kind of genetics and genome revelations might come to light.
Yeah. But I don't know because she's not related to those babies. But it's just interesting that you are often tried by public opinion and media before anything goes to court, and you're kind of signed, sealed and delivered before you've even had a fair trial.
Exactly. But I will say, even though, she's not the mother and there's not going to be a genetic connection between her, those babies, if they still have the blood of those babies and they can do some kind of genetic sequencing and testing, if it reveals that there is this CALM2 gene or this BNS or whatever other mutations, then that's a serious thing, regardless of, whether she killed them. Because what they're saying is these children could have died from natural causes.
Not the correct medical care, not necessarily, intentionally incorrect.
Intentionally killing them. So, wow, we need to stay on top of that.
Well, I don't think it's our job, but definitely the courts.
Well,
don't look to us for any kind of medical information, any facts. Please don't hire us for your defence team. We're not the ones that are going to get you out of prison.
Now that's a sweet ride.
Juice-dropper.
Now that's a sweet ride.
Juice-dropper.
I'm confused.
Don't drop your juice. Juice-dropper.
Ya vienen los touchdowns. ¿Estás listo? Esta temporada de la NFL convierte las jugadas grandes en premios con DraftKings Sportsbook, un socio oficial de apuestas deportivas de la NFL. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para recibir $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando hagas tu primera apuesta de $5. En colaboración con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Las apuestas de bonos son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.
We're going to go back to London now, Michelle.
Lovely.
It's January, it's 1983, a freezing cold Friday evening. Traffic was crawling through Earl's Court, and amongst the cars was a little yellow Mini stuck in the traffic jam. And you'd probably punch me in the arm for seeing that yellow car, because there's that game, isn't there? Yellow car, you punch them in the arm. And inside that was a 26-year-old film editor named Stephen Waldorf in the front passenger seat. Stephen was chatting away, completely unaware that within minutes his life was about to change forever, because what Stephen didn't know was that he was being watched. Not just watched, Michelle, but hunted by armed detectives who believed that Stephen was somebody else entirely.
Oh my God.
It's a case of
mistaken identity.
And you're not going to believe this story.
Fuck.
So the police believed that Stephen Waldorf was somebody extremely dangerous who had shot a police officer and escaped prison, much like our earlier chap that I spoke about, dressed as a woman. This master of disguise who got dressed up and just somehow left the prison as a woman. And that person was a criminal called David Martin. And I'll tell you a little bit about Dave. David Martin was a career criminal, a fraudster, burglar, thief, and a master escapee.
He's got skills.
He's got the skills. He'd been in and out of prison since the 70s, and every time the police thought they had him, he somehow slipped through their fingers.
Wow.
And in one burglary, he stole 24 revolvers and nearly 1,000 rounds of ammunition from a gunsmith.
Shit. So he's armed. He's ready to roll.
Well, from that point on, he's armed to the teeth. He's got 2 guns on him at all times. So this wasn't just a lad nicking tellies from people's houses. This guy was violent. And in August 1982, police actually caught him mid-burglary.
Oh, shit.
But he didn't surrender. Yeah. He pulled out one of those guns and he shot his way out, seriously injuring a police officer.
You can't do that because that's a massive target on your back.
Absolutely. Well, then he had this huge reputation as one of the most dangerous men in Britain, and everybody's looking for him. By December 1982, Martin was on remand at Brixton Prison. But on Christmas Eve, while waiting to go before the magistrates, he slipped out of his cell yet again, scrambled across the courthouse roof.
Oh my God.
This is in your old neck of the woods. And vanished.
Fuck.
And then there was a massive manhunt nationwide, which was launched. And that's where our story starts. And we go back to that mini in the traffic. The police were desperate to catch Martin, obviously. They turned their attention to his girlfriend, and she was under constant surveillance. Officers were told to follow her every move, hoping that she'd lead them back to Martin. Then, on the 14th of January, 1983, she was seen getting into a friend's car, which police tailed through West London. At one point, she switched into a yellow Mini, and all the while, the detectives were following. And back to that yellow Mini, another punch on the arm from Michelle. In the front passenger seat of that Mini was a man who had longish hair, was a bit scruffy, much like Martin. To the surveillance team that were tracking her, it looked like they finally got their guy.
Right.
And when the car got stuck in traffic on Pembroke Road in Earls Court, the Popo figured they had the perfect opportunity. A lot of P's in that sentence. So detectives radioed in to get DC John Finch, who was the only officer who'd ever met or seen Martin in person. They wanted Finch to walk up to the Mini, take a look, and confirm the man's identity, which should have been simple enough. Only, Michelle, it wasn't.
This sounds really awful.
As planned.
Already.
DC Finch, it actually reminds me, when I read this story, and I'm telling it back even, it reminds me of an episode of some gritty-britty like Line of Duty or something like that. A police procedural. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Well, this is also giving me shades of the shooting at
Stockwell Tube Station.
Yeah, the Stockwell Tube Station, where they got the wrong guy.
John, what's his name? Menendez. You did a story about
John,
him as well.
Yes, I did. No memory, no recall for names. Sorry. But yes, the Menendez
Michelle will link that.
shooting. I will, because they've been known to get this shit wrong.
Well, we're all human, aren't we, at the end of the day? Much like...
Yeah, but shoot him in the leg then.
Exactly. Don't just go nuts. But as planned, DC Finch approached the car with his revolver drawn, and he later claimed the passenger, who was actually Stephen Waldorf, completely innocent, had made a sudden movement, leaning into the back seat. So Finch thought it looked like he was reaching for a gun, and without a word, Finch opened fire. He fired 6 shots in quick succession, first at the tyres, then at Stephen, inside the Mini, and it was fucking chaos. The driver, who I don't know who the driver was, but he bolted into the night. Stephen slumped forward, bleeding and stunned. He wasn't dead. But before anyone could process what was happening, another detective, DC Dean, opened fire through the back window. He thought
my
Finch was being
God.
shot at, so he returned fire. It's absolute chaos. Then came DC Jardine, who arrived to see Stephen collapsing across the seats, believing he was still reaching for a weapon. So he fired 3 more times. Bam, bam, bam. Honestly, it's too much. By the time it was over, 14 shots had been fired.
Oh, that poor
5
guy.
had hit Stephen. He was severely wounded, only it didn't end there. DC Finch's revolver was now empty, so he marched to the driver's side, shoved the barrel between Stephen's eyes and snarled, "Okay, cocksucker." And he pulled the trigger, but he was out of bullets, thank God.
Oh my God.
It was only then when they dragged his limp body out of the Mini that the horrified officers realised it wasn't David Martin, but an innocent man, Stephen, who was no criminal. He was unarmed and he was not violent. He was just a young film editor, 26 years old.
Oh my God.
His whole life ahead of him.
Yep.
He'd just been working on movies and just begun a career in the British film industry. And that night, he just happened to be given a lift with Martin's girlfriend, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And do you know what? He was probably reaching into the back seat to like get a Mars bar or something, you know, like very innocently looking in his bag.
Well, actually, I believe somewhere, I can't be 100% sure, but I think that she was hiding. She was actually squatting down underneath the seats, and he was turning around to speak to her somehow.
This all sounds a bit weird.
And I'm not sure, because she'd been followed all the time. So she just jumped into another car, and he wasn't even driving. He just happened to look like this fucking criminal guy. Poor old Stephen was now in hospital, 5 bullet wounds, a fractured skull. His life's hanging by a thread. And the news of the shooting spread fast. A senior officer from Scotland Yard issued an apology within the hour, describing it as a tragic case of mistaken identity. But apologies weren't enough. The press had a field day, you can imagine.
Yep.
Parliament was furious.
Yep.
The public asked, how could this happen in Britain, where the police are supposed to be unarmed and restrained? Stephen spent 6 weeks in hospital, slowly recovering. And when he came round, a senior Met officer personally came to apologise. However, the damage, which was both physical and psychological, was enormous. The officers who pulled the trigger, which was Finch and Jardine, they were both charged with attempted murder and grievous bodily harm. And there was a trial at the Old Bailey, which became a media circus, with the defence arguing that they had genuinely feared for their lives, and in the heat of the moment, they believed they were under fire. Jury bought it, and in October 1983, both men were acquitted.
Fuck.
But that decision sparked even more outrage. And if police could unleash a hail of bullets on an unarmed man and walk free, what does that mean for the rest of the innocent public at large?
Yes.
It's scary.
It's really scary.
This case then forced the government's hand to issue new national guidelines on firearms. So 2 months after the horrible attack on Stephen, that's what they did. And inspectors can no longer casually authorise guns for detectives.
Right.
And from now on, only the highest ranking officers, such as commanders in London and assistant chief constables elsewhere, can give the go-ahead.
That poor guy. So he's alive.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
I'm not sure. This is an old story. There's no kind of update. This is not something that I found, which is an update on what happened. I was trawling through old newspaper reports and I found this. There's a group chaired by Geoffrey Deere, who, I don't know who he is exactly, but he dug deeper and he produced the Deere report that recommended psychological testing for all firearms officers, better training, and stricter refresher courses. Thank you, Geoffrey Deere. I think that's a great idea.
I mean, I would have thought that would be the baseline.
Par for the course.
You can't have a firearm unless you've undergone psychological testing, so we know you're not just a fucking Rambo waiting to unleash. Like, come on.
This is the 80s. It's the Wild West.
Yeah, it is still the Wild West.
And now the term authorised firearms officer, which means only specially trained, carefully vetted officers can carry guns, and that's common parlance now. It's a turning point. British policing has always prided itself on being unarmed, but the Waldorf case proved that when guns were in the wrong hands, even the police could lose control. Yeah. Finally, I can just say that he did finally recover, Stephen, but he does carry those scars for life, you know.
Fuck yeah.
He sued the Met. He won compensation somewhere between 120 and 150,000. I don't know when that was or how much that equates to in today's money. David Martin, meanwhile, was finally caught 2 weeks after the shooting. He was chased into Hampstead Tube Station, leapt onto the tracks and tried to outrun the police down the tube tunnel.
Oh, shit.
But they cornered him and dragged him out. No guns, thank God.
Okay.
Yeah, they ran down a tube tunnel and got him. He stood trial later that year, sentenced to 25 years, and just months later, in 1984, he took his own life while in prison. You just can't keep that guy behind bars.
I actually thought you were going to say he escaped.
No, they must have put some real barriers in his way that time because he couldn't bear it.
Well, they had his number, didn't they? They knew that this guy's an escapologist and could get through a crack in the wall. So
exactly, dressed as a woman. Finch and Jardine both returned to duty, though never again as firearms officers. The Met quietly moved them back into regular policing, and the shooting of Stephen Waldorf left an unpleasant stain on the British police force. It was the era to force change, and all the chaos of that night, 3 plainclothes police detectives firing wildly into traffic, pistol whipping an innocent man, entirely shattered the trust that people had in the police force. And people wondered.
But also, fuck you, cocksucker or something?
Yeah, okay, cocksucker. It's from Wikipedia, so I'm not 100% sure that can be verified that he said that. I guess that's what Stephen Waldorf said. But he didn't die that night. He easily could have.
Yes.
But that's why his story still matters. He became the face of what happens when policing goes wrong. And it's one of the most shocking cases of mistaken identity in modern policing.
That is horrific. What a fucking story, Geordie.
I know.
And I'd never heard of it.
No, I hadn't, because it's from the 80s.
Yes, but
it's old.
So is Kathleen Folbigg's story, except she was literally back in the news for a crappy bit of compensation recently. But, you know, and also her case changed the way the law has to view science.
Yes, so these are both law-changing cases, ultimately.
Yeah, really. And these things are necessary. It's amazing how it takes tragedy like this to get fucking law changed.
Well, there's got to be a catalyst somewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Well, thank you for that harrowing story.
Harrowing.
Could have been any of us.
Yeah. Why don't you put it through AI? Find out who you do look like. Just make sure that person's not wanted for anything before you go running about in traffic.
Do you know what? I'm terrified because I feel like AI, it's never going to be...
It's not going to be what you want.
It's not going to be an attractive doppelganger. It's going to be some shit that's going to make me feel like, oh,
Michelle,
my God.
Listen, you are beautiful no matter what they say. No matter what AI says, you're gorgeous as you are. We don't need them to tell us that we look like someone famous. We don't need that.
I know, but when I did do the AI of us in the slutty outfits on the private jet, I don't know why, but they gave me cross eyes.
And a sweaty top lip. Obviously, the aircon had broke. We're not that rich.
No, we're not that rich. Honestly, what an episode. It wasn't an easy listen to either, probably.
No, soz about that, guys. But that's why you're here, right?
Yes.
You're eavesdropping. We talk about all sorts of things.
We do.
Next week, who knows? We don't even know.
Actually, we don't.
We don't.
Well, we better get off mic and figure out what's next.
Start figuring that out.
I know.
Meanwhile, send us all your woes and your questions for our Patreon.
Yes,
please.
We need it.
It's the September advice column.
Yes.
With us, Michelle and Geordie. So please write in. Meanwhile, wherever you are,
whatever you do,
just keep eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping all day long. Eavesdropping. This is the song.
Ya vienen los touchdowns. ¿Estás listo? Esta temporada de la NFL convierte las jugadas grandes en premios con DraftKings Sportsbook, un socio oficial de apuestas deportivas de la NFL. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para recibir $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando hagas tu primera apuesta de $5. En colaboración con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Las apuestas de bonos son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.